And then, yeah, we usually, well, I used to use this when I was at work, like
Mm-hmm.
at Bally Sports. Like we would do shows on this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like the easiest thing to use, bro. Plus, it's like this version's free, so I'm like I just stick to this. But
No,
I
that's
might, if I continue to like build it up, and like I might end up doing paying for the premium version. So we'll see. All right, we'll let some people get tuned in here. We're going to talk a lot about the 49ers Cowboys game yesterday. 49ers with I wouldn't say a big win, but it's a win nonetheless. A game they nearly choked yet again, you know, a 30-24 game. The Cowboys made it interesting late with a couple of CD touchdowns. I know his fantasy managers are happy about that. Um, Today we got a special guest, and this guy definitely puts the word special in special. Our good friend Sonny Jador, who is a notorious Dallas Cowgirls fan, as you can see in his lower third right there. Sonny, thank you for joining the program, man. How's it going?
sad, emotional, a lot of feelings, but hey, you got win or lose. I told you guys I would join, so
Yeah, you're definitely a trooper for joining. I didn't think you were going to at first because you knew we're going to talk a lot of shit, but um, you know, it's not like the Niners are among the elite teams in the NFL right now, so we can't really be on too much of a high horse right now. But you know, they got the dub. We're gonna get into the game and everything. You know, quick injury update on the 49ers. The biggest one off the bat, Christian McCaffrey. They said his practice window is likely to open next Monday. Sonny, even as you're not a Niners fan, but you drafted CMC first in our league, so I know you got to be happy.
Over CD.
See
I
that
know,
news.
right? Over CD.
Over your own boy, CD Lamb.
Over CD.
Big
Big last night on our 49ers, but CMC is expected to play hopefully after the bye next week in week 10 against the Bucks, which is a great game for him to come back to because the Bucks defense is non-existent. So depending on what his workload is like, he could be in for a pretty big first game. Jordan Mason left yesterday's game with a shoulder injury, but I think he should be fine come a couple weeks from now. D Winter's concussion. Debo was dealing with some ribs and an oblique injury. He's going to be re-evaluated after the bye. Juwan Jennings didn't play. He should be back hopefully. Cowboys also had a lot of injuries coming into this game, right? Micah Parsons didn't play. Eric Kendrick's been out. Deron Bland's still been out, and then Rico Dowdle was a late scratch. Definitely a key loss, I think, for the Cowboys. You know, their running game is already pretty bad as it is. They're dead last in the NFL with 74 rushing yards a week, and you know when you lose your starting running back, definitely didn't help. So it's rough for them, but you know we'll get into the game. Sonny, first I want to start by asking you this: how did you become a Dallas Cowboys fan? I mean, you're a California guy, so where did this fandom start with you becoming a Cowboys fan?
So growing up, my dad, he's a Cowboys fan. He used to watch Cowboys Niners a lot during rivalries, right? And then I was so close to being a Niners fan because the color red is my favorite color, but somehow I just ended up being a Cowboys fan. So 93 was born. That was the last time they won. So yeah.
Bad choice.
You should have picked your favorite color, bro.
Here's the thing. Niners haven't won since then either. So
hey, 94 as well. One sooner than 93. All right. So
actually, wait,
we got that.
Cowboys won 95. So.
95 Cowboys.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're right. All right. So we know how you became a Cowboys fan, but now answer this. What's it like being a Cowboys fan? Because look, both of our teams haven't won in a long time, right? 30 plus years now. But you know, the Cowboys each year we see the memes, we see the jokes, we see the fans breaking TVs, that this is our year. Jerry Jones, hey, everything. So what's it like being a Cowboys fan, especially right now with how a team is doing?
Let me put it this way. My phone, as soon as the fourth quarter hits and it's 0-0 and they lose, it starts buzzing. A bunch of people start hitting me up. Get your facts straight, Chicago. People like this, exactly like this. They just start hitting you up, bashing on your team. Like, look, we suck. I'm gonna admit it. Jerry Jones set up Dak for failure, right? He didn't give him nothing. He gave him a contract. Cool, he got his money. But where's the help? Where's our second receiver? No Brandon Cooks. He's pretty old. He's probably like a third receiver now, right? No running game. I mean, offensive line, we have rookies and random people starting. Defense, of course, Michael's out. Bland's out. I mean, imagine Bland and Diggs. Who would you throw the ball to then?
Right.
Jordan Lewis is pretty decent, right? But no pressure from defensive line. Mozzie, our first round pick from last year, horrible. Yeah, so it's
So
like
it's pretty shitty, is what you're saying.
it's pretty shit. The
Yeah,
reason why I
the
have
talent's not there.
the reason why I have a bricks background right now is because that's all we're doing is bricks. Like
They're shitting bricks right now. They're shitting bricks.
so.
All right, well, don't we're going to talk about what the Cowboys need to do to improve their season in a bit, but let's first start with talking about yesterday's game.
Yeah.
49ers 30-24 win. The third quarter, they really came on strong with a 21-0 third quarter. That was kind of when they really took a stranglehold on the game. But obviously, the Cowboys made it interesting in this one. This was also the most watched Sunday night football game in Week 8 ever. It peaked at 26.4 million views. So no matter how old this rivalry is, people like watching, the 49ers and the Cowboys. I think the two areas where the Niners really this is kind of what the game came down to. 49ers had 223 rushing yards. Cowboys only had 56. That's obviously a huge disparity. And the Cowboys coming in, their rushing defense was really bad, among the worst in the league. And it showed last night. And their rushing offense is among the worst of the league, and that showed last night too. I mean, Brock Purdy himself rushed for 56 yards, which is as much as the Cowboys did as a team. And then Dallas turned the ball over 2 times. The Niners did not turn the ball over in this game. I feel like that was kind of it right there. Aman, we'll start with you. What were some of just your takeaways from watching this game?
Well, up until the fourth quarter, I was like, man, they're doing a good job of dominating in the trenches, which they were for that third quarter. Obviously, the first half, it looked a little bit shaky for the Niners. I think Brock Purdy was still kind of shaking off that rust from last week. I think he was a little bit shook in that first half, missing wide open throws, to receivers that are just running down the field. We were talking about it, at halftime. We were texting back and forth about it that, Brock just didn't look like, he was comfortable back there, even though he had so much time to throw and he had his guys wide open. But in the second half, in that third quarter, everything flipped. I think Dallas, they kind of let up a little bit also, considering that they had the lead at that moment. And they felt really good, being up 10-6 at halftime. It could have gone a lot of different ways in that game, especially with Dak throwing two picks. But you got to give the Cowboys credit. I mean, they played really hard the first half. They made it hard on the Niners for sure. But like we all know, this is a game. This is a battle in the trenches, right? And the Cowboys lost both battles. They lost on the offensive side and the defensive side, unfortunately. So, give the Cowboys credit for sure for showing up in that fourth quarter as well. Niners don't make it easy on themselves this season. As we know, they don't have any closers right now. They're missing all their closers like Juwan Jennings, Christian McCaffrey on the offensive side. And then, on the defensive side, Javon Hargrave, Hufanga and Greenlaw. Those are guys that have stepped up for us the last couple of years and have made big plays in big situations. And we're missing those guys right now. So until we can get those guys back, it's not going to be comfortable by any stretch, but, we're really lucky that the bye week is when it is now. We're really fortunate that Christian McCaffrey most likely is going to be back, which is going to be a huge boost, not just from, an offensive standpoint, from an emotional standpoint. He's kind of like the heartbeat of the team. I call him like the Steph Curry of the team because he's like the engine that makes everything go, right? When he's on the field, you don't have any worries. So it definitely wasn't a good win by any stretch. It was pretty shitty, to be honest, especially the way they closed.
Yeah.
You were predicting double digits all week.
It was there. I mean, they were up big going, late there. I said they were going to win by 10 plus just because, again, the Cowboys defense obviously not there. Offensively, we know Dak is, pretty strong, and CD's obviously their number one guy, but they don't have a run game. So I was like, there's a very good chance the Niners could win this game by 10 plus. And for a moment there, it looked like they were going to, but like you said, props to the Cowboys. They made it interesting. I knew it was going to come down to the end. But ultimately the Niners were able to hold on, and it's a win at the end of the day. It's not one I feel like great about, but it's obviously a win is a win, and you take them no matter how they come. Sonny, I mean, what was your takeaway from the Cowboys perspective? Areas you thought they look good, maybe they look bad, areas they needed to improve, and what was kind of the difference in the game for you?
I mean, the defense actually played good. It might shock you, but yeah, fourth quarter they just let you guys run through us, but the defense played good. I think it was Dak who had 2 costly turnovers that kind of put us behind. And think about it. You're losing, quarterback's kind of turning over the ball. You don't have no playmakers right now on defense besides Diggs probably. And you could hold defense. I mean, you can hold the offense so much, right? Sorry, I'm reading what they said. Crazy how Brock had the same amount of rushing yards as the entire Cowboys. There you go. It speaks to itself. I think Mike
Yeah.
McCarthy should be. I do want him to be fired because, hear me out. Third down and you're doing a running play to a fullback. Like, why? I mean, throw the ball in that situation, right? I think
Yeah,
that
put the ball in your hands of your best player, right?
exactly right. They had plenty of opportunities, so it's like I feel like Dak didn't step up. This is the first time I admit. I mean, he got paid, but he didn't. He had the costly turnovers. Like, I get it if it was a receiver's fault, but this one was clearly his. I mean, CD could have probably tried to like snatch the ball away, so it could have been incomplete, but he gave up too. When Dak
Are you talking about the Demo interception?
second one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a good play, I think, by Demo, right? Like, Dak could have put the ball probably a bit higher in a place where only CD can go up and get it, but Demo was in good position there, and Dak kind of put it in a place where obviously he could make a play on it, and he did, but I think it's something you've been talking about kind of all season, right? The Cowboys just don't have weapons. It's only CD Lamb. Maybe they could utilize Jake Ferguson a little bit more. Tolbert is a guy, rookie, right? Wide receiver for you guys, or second year?
Second year.
Yeah,
so again,
he's shown some flashes, right? He's not like a strong number 2 wide receiver, but maybe they could try to get him a little bit more involved. But I think the Cowboys, like you said, they don't have the weapons. Definitely not like the Niners do. As banged up as the Niners are, still that's one of the strengths for the Niners, right? Is they have depth and they've drafted well. They've put themselves in a position where even when guys are out, like Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, they still have plenty of guys who can get it done. And that's the main difference, and it's not like their offense isn't terrible, but it's definitely lacking the run element, right? And that's been something that when you have a strong offensive line like the Cowboys do, it's kind of going to waste because you don't have a power running back there who can break free, pick up 6-7 yards every single time. Rico Dowdle obviously being out was crucial. I think he would have helped the offense for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Sonny. I'll let you go.
Which was a shocker, because how do you get illness randomly right before the game and you're signing? I mean, I don't know. There's like a bunch of rumors out there that Jerry Jones had something to do with this because he didn't want to bench Elliott. So all sort of drama on Cowboys land, right? Of course.
And that's the other thing too, is Jerry Jones, man. That's something that I wanted to touch on today also is, how detrimental is Jerry Jones to the Dallas Cowboys franchise? Like, we know it's about Jerry and it's Jerry's world, and he's the GM, he's the owner, he's the key decision maker. Everything has to go through Jerry. But as a Cowboys fan, how frustrating is that your owner has to meddle in everything? Because, we've experienced that too as Niner fans, going back, to the Jed York days when, he wanted to meddle in everything when Harbaugh was around. That's the reason why the Niners literally sucked for like 3 or 4 years in that little stretch after Harbaugh, is because we had an owner at that time that didn't understand that, football minds are the ones that can make, key decisions for organizations, not just all about ownership, right? Ownership needs to focus their resources into allocating good personnel to draft these guys and to develop these guys. So, for you, how do you feel, that Jerry Jones has to be involved in almost every single thing?
I mean, it sucks, right? Because don't get me wrong, in the 90s and stuff, him and Jimmy Johnson, they did everything they could. They won Super Bowls, right? And I know he wanted to take more credit from like Jimmy Johnson, of course, right? But nowadays, it's like we have a guy, Will McKay, I think his name is. He's like pretty much he drafts our people, or he at least scouts. He should be the general manager. He gets paid probably like one too. And Jerry Jones wants to mingle into everything, right? I get it. It's his team, it's everything that he has. But it's like at a certain point, you got to let it go and let other people take control, because I honestly think his all in, whatever he wanted to do, was pretty much tank this year and get a new head coach next year, which I don't know who it might be, but
it don't matter. I mean, look, Mike McCarthy, like, yeah, he definitely has his struggles, but like,
taking him to the playoffs, man.
Yeah,
he's taking him to the playoffs.
He's not like, look, he's not a terrible head coach by any means, right? Like, he's obviously had success in the NFL, Super Bowl winning head coach, right, with the Packers before. So he's not a bad coach, but let's say they do let him go after the season, which they might, right? Because he was already on the hot seat like last year.
His contract expires.
Whoever they're bringing in like next year, it doesn't matter until Jerry Jones somebody needs to get in his ear and tell him like, hey, you need to like chill out. Let your guys do your job, right? Let your general manager put the roster together, put a good coaching staff together, and let him make the decisions. And don't call out your head coach saying we need to be more creative with our plays or whatever. That's a discussion, the coaching staff can have with itself. Or if you really want to talk to him, do it on the side. Like, you don't do that in public, So until Jerry Jones can take a step back and be like, hey, maybe I need to like not be as involved with the team, it's not going to change for the Cowboys, because the spotlight's always on him. That's not how it should be. It's the only team, not even in the NFL, maybe in all of like the major sports leagues, where the owners criticize so much is Jerry Jones.
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way. Why did this game get the most views?
I mean, it's a rivalry.
What other game got the most views this year on Thursday Night Football? The Cowboys game. And yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's because everyone loves to see the Cowboys lose. That's why they tune in, right?
Fair enough. But that's what Jerry Jones does, man. He's a marketing genius.
He is. I'll give you that. Yeah,
he's a marketing genius.
Take anything away. I mean, it's the number one franchise in the world for the richest. Number one, even over the
number one franchise. Yeah, that's true.
Lakers, over $1 billion plus, whatever. He knows how to market, but he just needs to stop mingling with the team. And I feel like also with the head coach, you need someone who could like put their foot down, right? Someone who could like, I mean, Bill Parcells used to do it, right? Jimmy Johnson used to do it, right? Again, I'm just throwing names out there. Could be Deion Sanders. I don't know. But whoever it is, they need to take charge. And they're like, nah, I'm not listening to Jerry. I'm going to do this my way. Otherwise, it's going to be the same old, same old.
Also, don't hire yourself as president.
I agree. But if you own a team, I'm pretty sure things get passed down, right? So it's like,
I mean, yes and no, but that's the thing that's hard, right? It's like, I understand, like, and it's not just the Cowboys. There's a lot of sports teams where you see, their families in these different positions, and that's sometimes when things get very dangerous, especially when a team starts to struggle, and winning is not a commonality for the team, and then they don't want to fire that person who's a family member right in that position. So that's another thing for the Cowboys. But let's talk about this, Sonny. The trade deadline's coming up. The Cowboys are 3-4, so they're not terrible, right? It's not like they're 2-6 or 1-7, whatever. They're 3-4. Still a very good chance they can make the playoffs, right? Their schedule coming up is, they got the Falcons, they play the Eagles twice, Commanders twice. They got the Giants, Panthers. Those should be winnable games. And then the Bucks and the Texans. So definitely some tough games, definitely some winnable games. What do you think they need to do, especially with the trade deadline coming up? What are positions of need, areas of need, or particular guys that you've seen maybe that the Cowboys should be going after?
They need to trade Deontay Johnson, I think, from the Panthers. There's plenty of teams that are horrible right now. They just need to trade. But again, Jerry Jones likes his draft capital. So it's going to all come down to what does he want to give up. I think this was like, I don't know when we had Amari Cooper. Same record. This is when we made the trade, and then we lifted it off, right? He needs another receiver. Our receivers probably have the lowest separation rate. You could probably look it up. I'm pretty positive on that. Or you could ask a bunch of people who are in this chat because of the Cowboys. It's all about Cowboys. I'm telling you. The views, the ratings, the comments, you're going to get them because of the Cowboys. But yeah, they're going to have to make trades, right? People coming back healthy, cool. But end of the day, he needs a little help. I don't think we're going to get a running back, but if we do, that would be like amazing.
I mean, if you're going for Deontay, you might as well make it going to get Chuba Hubbard from them too, because there's a good chance he might get traded also. Okay. Might as well get both of them.
They have Miles Sanders. I think they might get rid of him because, again, Jerry Jones, the guy they originally wanted drafted, Panthers got him. He had an ACL injury, and Dallas staff was the ones who did the surgery on that person. But Jerry Jones opened his mouth saying, "Oh, this is the guy we like," and guess what? He was gone before, he could. And yes, we could have signed
Derrick Henry. You definitely could have.
He wanted to be there. It's his hometown. But guess what? Jerry Jones again at it. The minute
most valuable franchise, the richest franchise, but didn't want to spend
$11 franchise.
Yeah, and
didn't want to spend $8 million to get Derrick Henry.
Which I don't understand because it's a 1-year contract. They have 26 point something million, I think, in cap space right now. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong. They're gonna sign Michael next year. They had the space this year after signing CD and Dak. So it's like, dude,
Hey, it's okay, bro. You brought Ezekiel Elliott back. You know the fans are happy, man. That's what matters.
Yeah. No comment. Like I said, I love Elliott, what he done, but
Would Derrick Henry succeed like in the Ravens offense? Yeah, I think so. Behind that Dallas Cowboys offensive line, there's a good chance.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. Ravens have a different type of offense, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah,
So
definitely.
I do think because Lamar Jackson could run the ball, he creates much more attention than Derrick Henry, right? I do think we would have more the 10 yards rushing, 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would have the success he has right now with Dallas because I don't think we have a good offensive line compared to what people assume. We have Zach Martin. Name me one more player on the Cowboys offensive line.
Yeah, you guys have been pretty banged up on the offensive line. You've had a lot of departures over the last 3 or 4 years.
We have
some staple names, right?
starting on the offensive line, which you guys probably never heard of it, right? So it's like, I mean, I know they need time to develop. So
yeah, no, it's I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether the Cowboys are gonna go, be buyers at the deadline, be sellers, or are they just gonna stand pat? Because I don't know, 3-4, like I said, they're not in a bad position. They got some competition in their division for sure with the Eagles and the Commanders. But neither of those teams. Well, Commanders are 6-2 now, so they're
6-2.
Yeah, they're doing really good. The Eagles have been picking up their wins also. Beating the Bengals yesterday. So, but they can still definitely push for a wild card spot if they really want to. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Let's circle back to the game though. Enough Cowboys talk. Let's talk about the 49ers a little bit. So let's talk about this, how big of a win this was for the Niners. Like we said, it wasn't a good win, but we talked about last week, Cooner, had the Niners dropped this game, you're looking at a 3-5 record going into the bye. And we know they have a really tough schedule after the bye week too.
Yep.
So how important was this win for their season? I mean, I know we talked about like the Chiefs game too, being a make or break game. Obviously that ended up being the case, but this one, had they lost it, would have been a rough 2 weeks into the bye, no matter who you got coming out after that. Christian McCaffrey, Drake Greenlaw, Hufanga, a 3-5 record is tough to overcome, especially when you look at the NFC West, which is, pretty open right now. I mean, the Seahawks lost yesterday, but Cardinals won another game. The Rams won, and now they're healthy with Cooper Kupp and Puka back. So maybe they're thinking they're going to try to make a push to try to win the division. Who knows? They might be buyers at the deadline too, but how big was this win for the 49ers in terms of where they stand in the NFC West and the NFC as a whole?
Yeah, it was definitely huge. I mean, you look at the NFC West standings right now, there's 3 teams that have a 4-4 record. That's the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Niners. And the Rams, they've kind of resurrected their season too. They got a couple of key guys back in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and they're at 3-4. So It's going to be tough sledding in that second half for sure. I mean, I think the one key for them in the second half, obviously, is they have to win their division games, the remaining division games. They're going to have to sweep Seattle, and they're going to have to split with Arizona and with the Rams at a minimum to have a chance to even win their division. So if they can at least get those 3 wins, I'm not too worried about Tampa Bay. They're super banged up right now. Coming out of a bye week, we should be well rested. Tampa Bay is probably going to be a win. I hope.
Hey, Harper, we about to block you, bro. We about to block you, man. If you dropping comments like that.
Rams ain't winning no division, man. Sorry. Niners are going to win this division if everything works out. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like how big it was, yeah, it was definitely big. They had to stay on pace with obviously the Cardinals and the Seahawks right now. And, Miami Dolphins couldn't do us a favor yesterday and hold off the Arizona Cardinals. Otherwise, we'd be in the division lead this week, right? After everything that's happened, they could have been leading the division if the Cardinals lost. So I'm not too worried about the second half as long as we get our horses back, which I told you, the 2 game breakers on both sides, Dre Greenlaw and Christian McCaffrey, those guys are so important. And it's reared its head this season on how important those 2 are. If we would have had C-Mac to start the season, this would be a 6-2 team at minimum, right? If we had Dre Greenlaw, they'd probably be 7-1, right? So that's how important those guys are to both the offense and the defense. And obviously it doesn't help that the schedule is going to get harder in the second half, especially that hellacious back-to-back with the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills. If they can split that, I think it's a win. I don't expect them to win both of those games. I think one of those games they're probably going to lose. If I were to pick one, it's probably going to be that Green Bay game because they're going to want to extract some revenge for the playoffs last season. They kind of had our number for 3 quarters in that game. So it's going to be really interesting. I think they can definitely make a run. Obviously, after the bye week, it kind of starts out easy. The middle of it, it's a little bit tough, and it kind of ends easy with the Bears and with the Dolphins and the Rams. So we got a shot, man. We got a shot. If they can win the rest of their divisional games, and if they can at least split, like I said, with the Packers and the Bills, you could be looking at a 10-7 or an 11-16 for sure. Coming out of everything that's happened, if they can get to 10-7 or 11-6, I think that'll get them to the division.
Yeah, having 4 losses already is definitely tough, and it's tough to see them, even though they've had a lot of success in the past few years following their bye weeks. Again, schedule is hard. Getting guys healthy is going to be the key thing here that's going to really push them through. And it'll be, as much as we've been like giving them a really hard time this season, saying how they've been struggling, been doing bad. Who knows? Maybe we're going to be completely wrong here, and maybe they get their guys back, and it's like a new energy in the team, and maybe they make another late season push, right? Because even despite all the injuries that the Niners have had, I mean, they should be 6-2 right now, because they should have closed out those games against the Cardinals and Rams. Obviously, it doesn't matter because they're L's on the schedule. But those are games that they should have won, and being 6-2 right now would have been amazing given all the injuries that we had. But unfortunately, the Niners haven't been able to close out games. We saw that yesterday almost again, right, with a late comeback that the Cowboys made. But let's talk about this. Harpy asking us. Let me start with you, Sonny, on this. As obviously you're not a 49er fan, but from the outside looking in, what's your thoughts on Kyle Shanahan and how he kind of manages games?
I'm gonna take a step back. I think, do you trust Brock Purdy? Because he did almost throw an interception that could have also changed the game. And I said this to you prior to the season. I'm like, he's gonna like drop. What I mean by that is he needs the help. Yeah. CMC's gonna come back. He's not gonna be the same. He might still get the points for fantasy, right? But Purdy needs to step up because you have injuries, right? Ayuk's out. You need offensive weapons too, right? So you have a tight end. You still have one receiver, and I know one got hurt. Debo, I don't know how long he's going to be out, but I do think Purdy needs to step up because he hasn't done anything this season to show me that, hey, he could come in clutch towards the end of the game. Unless, correct me if I'm wrong. Because, I mean, we always hate on Dak. We always hate on that, but he does have 24 comebacks, right? Including one this year against Steelers, right? Now, can Purdy do the same? If Purdy could step up, I don't think you need to go on a win streak or not. I just think you guys need to win your main matchups against division opponents and get in the playoffs. And then after that, again, it's gonna all come down to Purdy because your defense is good. Defense is good. Yeah, you'll get some people back from injuries and stuff, but
yeah. I'll say this: Purdy has definitely had like an up and down season, right? Like we've seen some really good flashes from him, games where he's played well, like maybe 3 touchdowns here, 2 touchdowns there, no interceptions, right? I think for about the first 5 or 6 weeks, he was top 3 in passing yards, one of the highest QBRs as well. But to your point that you made a couple weeks ago, when you and I were kind of talking about this, Purdy has not played well against good defenses, right? When they played Minnesota, a couple interceptions there. When they played the Chiefs, 3 interceptions there. It's easy to come in and dominate the teams that you should, like the Seahawks, or they did play well against the Rams and Cardinals, even though they lost those games. The Patriots, obviously a game that they won easily. Last night he played well, but he struggled in the first half. He was looking really bad. Kuhn and I were texting on the side. He looked like he was lost, and he did have some throws that were behind receivers, notably that one to Debo, obviously. I think there was at least like one more. He just looked like he wasn't going through his progressions and reads like he usually does. He did step it up in the second half for sure. I think it was a much better response. But, when this second half of the season comes out, he's definitely going to have to step it up. Now, look, having your guys obviously back, whether it's McCaffrey and whoever, obviously helps guys out. No matter what quarterback you are, you need talent around you, right? Like, there's a reason. Yes, the Chiefs are 7-0, but Mahomes is struggling this year, right? He has 9 interceptions, which leads the NFL. He's not throwing a whole lot of touchdowns, and that's because the lack of talent, right?
Yep.
Rashee Rice went down. Kelsey was kind of slow here and there. Outside of that, Hollywood Brown's been out. Worthy has been kind of up and down as well. So, even a guy like him who's the best in the league, it's not like he's having a great season, right? But anytime you have talent around you, it's obviously going to make you make you better. And so for Purdy, I'm not gonna make the excuse that, oh, it's because he doesn't have CMC or this and that, right? He still has plenty of guys around him where he should be playing well enough. So, I'm not going to say they go as far as he takes them because, hey, he took them to the Super Bowl last year, right?
And the NFC Championship.
Yeah, and the NFC Championship the year before. So it's not like this team's success rides on Purdy's shoulders, but there's definitely room for improvement in his game. I will say that for sure.
And one other note that I kind of wanted to make on that too, Purdy's the only quarterback in the NFL this year to pass for 200 or more yards in every single game. So he airs it out. He's getting the ball out. There's no separation from the receivers this year either. They're like dead last in the NFL in terms of like separation. So it's just all him. He's throwing that shit up there, and guys are trying to make plays, but more often than not, it's been a pick or a batted down pass because these guys just can't get separation right now. So he's putting it in the tight windows and the right places, but it's just been a struggle on offense, and I think a lot of that has to do with CMC being out because he commands double teams and things of that nature too. So once he comes back, obviously it'll be a lot easier for Brock Purdy to flourish. So,
but you also have to take into account that every time they're down, they have to throw the ball. Defenses play back. I mean, people hated Dak for that. I mean, he's also up there with yards. Look how many wins he has. I mean, what Harpreet said in the comments was one key thing. Patrick Mahomes has a head coach, Andy Reid, who adjusts, adapts, and helps his quarterback with offense, right? And I think Shannon should also do the same, right? I don't know. I mean, you guys can speak more to that because you guys watch more Niners game than me, right? But same thing with Mike. Your head coach needs to help your offense. If you're a quarterback struggling, do certain plays that help them rather than put them in like horrible, situations. So
this kind of ties into the remember the story that was going around last week that Brock Purdy doesn't audible right at the line of scrimmage, and he said he's like, oh, well, I think the comment from him was this, Shanahan's plays are designed a certain way, so like there's basically there's never really a need to audible or whatever because that's how the play is designed. But I'm like, I think that's less of a Brock Purdy thing, and it's more of a Kyle Shanahan thing in that Kyle Shanahan, if Brock Purdy were to audible, I feel like he would probably get upset, and he wants his plays to be run as they're designed every single time that particular way. We know Shanahan's such a stickler, right, for his offense, but it's true. We never see Purdy audible right at the line or change plays. Like, does he even have that freedom to do it? I mean, Kyle Shanahan says he trusts Brock Purdy. We've heard him say it countless times, right? In front of the camera, but does he actually when it comes down to it? Because I feel like it's really hard as a quarterback to play in Shanahan's system also because there's kind of like this unspoken pressure from Shanahan to be perfect every single time. I don't know. I think there's a lot that Shanahan puts onto his guys, especially the quarterback position, that kind of holds him back like a little bit.
But I think that also comes down to, does he trust him enough to let him? Or if he does, why doesn't he make changes? Does he not know what to do? I mean, hey, Dak has freedom. He makes changes, right? Other quarterbacks have made changes. So why not? Like, what can...
That's what I'm saying. It goes back to like the Shanahan thing, right? I mean, look, Purdy he's a smart player, right? He understands the game well. You can tell, like, for example, last week against the Chiefs when his second interception, Ronnie Bell stopped short on his route, and you could tell by Purdy's face that, like, hey, you're supposed to keep going, right? But then when Purdy makes a mistake, you can see it in his reaction too. Like, he knows when it's his fault or if it was somebody else's, right? So I think Purdy's a smart enough player. He does have like a good IQ, where if he did have some freedom, I feel like he would be smart enough to recognize those things. But again, we don't know because we haven't seen it yet. So who knows? He could be good at it. He could end up being terrible about it or terrible at it, but we just don't know because he hasn't had that freedom yet to do it.
The one thing I'll say, if he runs the ball more, it'll help your team a lot. Because I think he did win the game against Cowboys because they did hold the running backs pretty good until he started running the ball. And then it opened up everything too. So he needs to run more. He doesn't have a broken leg. He doesn't have a sprained ankle. He needs to run. Like, I want Dak to run a lot. Like, but he doesn't. Now, I don't know if that has to do because his injury that he had.
Yeah.
But if he does run more often, I think it would help open up the offense too. But again, injuries, all that stuff play a role sometimes, and age of the quarterback, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Purdy's one of his strengths this season has definitely been running the ball. I think this is the most we've ever seen him, whether it's been scrambling or just taking off for first downs and picking up short yardage, big yardage situations too here and there. So he's been good about that. But there's no doubt he's definitely got to play a more consistent game, and also step up when they play some of these teams, after the bye, like the Buffalo Bills, like Green Bay, Chicago, another good defense that they're going to face, right? So we know Purdy's going to be around for the long term for the 49ers. How much he gets paid is going to be dependent on how kind of the rest of the season plays out too, right? If he happens to struggle, and then the Niners lose some more of these games that they should win, and it's because of Purdy having a couple interceptions here and there, it might hurt his contract negotiations a little bit. But if who knows? I mean, the question has been, right, is he a $60 million quarterback?
He's gonna get it. It's the market, man.
It is, but we know the Niners play really, really hardball when it comes to negotiating contracts. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they come in lower with like a number like a 45 or like a $50 million.
No way. Cap's going up, and guess what? If you're not gonna pay him, someone else will. The Raiders will pay him.
You think
they need a quarterback?
You think another team would give him $60 million?
No way, man.
I don't know.
Okay, so you're telling me, and I know this is going off topic, and Dak signed recently. If he didn't sign, you don't think the Raiders would offer him that much money?
That's Dak though.
So you're saying Dak's better than Purdy right now?
Yeah, when I did my quarterbacks rankings coming into this season, I had Dak higher than Brock Purdy.
So right now, based off of the way Dak's playing, the way Purdy's playing, the way Trevor Lawrence is playing, they all shouldn't be getting what they're getting paid, but they are. So my question is, you don't think Purdy, when his contract's up, they're not going to give him at least $55 million?
I think he'll be probably closer to like that.
Trevor Lawrence?
Closer like 50 to 55 than he will be to 60.
I'm pretty sure he's going to end up getting 60 plus. I mean, who else is up in line?
For quarterbacks to get paid? I mean, I think Purdy's the biggest one that they talk about because everyone else got their contracts already. Justin Herbert, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, everyone got paid already.
Whoever,
right?
If he wants to, he's going to leverage it. Trust me, dude. He's going to get paid. And that's when you find out. That's what I'm saying. This year, this is his first full year of starting, right?
Second year.
Didn't he miss last year a little bit?
No, he was here.
Played all games.
Yeah.
Played all the games.
This is the second official year, right?
Yeah.
Look, man, if they win the Super Bowl, fucking give him $100 million a year. I don't care. If they can get over the hump, they'll give him whatever he wants, right? That's what it comes down to.
All these quarterbacks are gonna get paid, and it's gonna come down to your general manager. Like Patrick Mahomes, his deal was spread around. Right?
Yeah.
Tom Brady, give him props. He used to take less money so he could get more people, right?
Yep.
Now, of course, cap's gonna go up. So there's going to be money there.
Yeah.
But it's just all about how your GM handles all that. That's why Jerry Jones complains about money, and we have no cap. Trust me, I know all that shit. And that's where your quarterback has to step up. And it's plain and simple. I mean, he has to make plays where it matters the most. Your defense is going to keep you in the game. Your running back's going to score and get you those. But when it comes to a crucial down or so, like, we wouldn't be talking about Cowboys losing if that pass that Dak did to Turpin, if he caught that, which was perfectly thrown, it would have been a whole different game, right? So now we can't blame Dak for that.
Well, we know that feeling too, because when the Niners lost to the Rams, he threw a beautiful deep ball, and Ronnie Bell, it went right through his hands. And if he makes that catch, the Niners, they win that game. So it's a different story there. And that's a late game drive for him. You know what I mean? So there's definitely moments where he has played well, but like I said, he's had his bad games too. So like I said, I don't think the team's success rides on how Purdy plays, but it does. He definitely needs to play better against these big teams. And there's an interesting stat that the Niners are 0-5 when Purdy has 2 or more interceptions in a game. So ball security definitely has to be a thing for him.
To chime into some of the comments, yes, he went to the Super Bowl. Yes, he went to the NFC Championship, right? But was he a game manager during that time? Now that he has to take more responsibility on, that's when things change. Like, he didn't turn over the ball. I'll give him props. He was like Dak's rookie year. Didn't turn over the ball, let the run game go through, defense steps up, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes time now to make plays, like all the time, because every week, no matter who you're playing, you have to make plays, right?
Yep.
So all that stuff comes into consideration. So, like I said, long season for the Cowboys too, for the Niners too. Anyone could go on a win streak. Anyone could go on a losing streak. Everyone's division is like 2 games apart. Ours is 2 games. You guys are like all tied, right? Pretty much right
Yeah,
now.
pretty much.
So it's like it's gonna come down to divisional games. That's 6 games right there, right? It's
Yeah.
6 games of losses. So, and then
You know,
playoff.
To Harpreet's point, is it a Super Bowl or bust for the Niners or the Cowboys? All right, look, I'm not trying to say this as like to hate on the Cowboys, but I don't think the Cowboys right now are in that category of obviously like being a contender. They're a playoff caliber team if they can like maybe make some moves and get like a little bit of momentum going. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust for them. I think for the Niners, you could say it. It is Super Bowl or bust for sure. If anything short of a Super Bowl doesn't happen this season, it's definitely going to be considered a failure for the 49ers. Now, especially because they're getting healthy in the back half of the season, right? They're getting McCaffrey back, Drake, Greenlaw, all these guys. And let's say they make it to the playoffs and lose in the first round to Green Bay this year. That's going to be a failure. You know, I mean, if we make it to the Super Bowl and lose to the Chiefs for the 8th time, then that's going to be considered a failure. You know what I mean? So I think it is to say for the Niners, it's definitely Super Bowl or bust because that's what it's been for the last 5 years, right?
I'll chime in, or I mean, you want to go first, or?
I mean, yeah, for the Niners, I mean, I think this is kind of like their last year, you know, where they can actually have a legitimate chance at winning a Super Bowl before they have to pay Brock Purdy, right? I mean, yeah, you know, they'll be good for a long time if Brock Purdy continues to do what he does. They'll have CMC hopefully for the long term as well. So, you know, you put all those things together. I think this year is really important. Obviously, losing Brandon Ayuk is not going to help. I mean, he was a guy that was supposed to do a lot for us this year, and he was struggling to start the year. So, you know, it sucks what happened to him for sure. But I think the NFC is wide open. I think the only team that the Niners should honestly fear is the Detroit Lions. That's probably the only team that I would be like, damn man, like that's gonna be a really tough matchup because the Vikings are fading a little bit right now in the NFC. The Commanders, they have a rookie quarterback. I don't know how I would feel about a rookie quarterback trying to lead a team to the Super Bowl. I don't think that can happen. It's never happened. So in NFL history. So
I would put the Vikings and the Packers in that category of teams that could give the Niners some trouble because those are two teams that both have a run game, right? The Vikings with Aaron Jones, the Packers with Jacobs, and then but then they both have quarterbacks who have been able to get the ball out this year. They both have defenses, like you said, good head coaches. So those are teams that could give the Niners some trouble. Detroit's definitely at the top of the list in the NFC, but there's a couple teams this year that the Niners can definitely have some trouble with. And Vikings already beat them once. Packers game is going to be tough too. They have a good secondary, like Adrian mentioned in the comments there. So it's definitely going to be, I think, a little bit harder this year than it has been in the past. Philly's playing good this year too. We can't discount them. You know, it's a team that
I feel like Philly is soft, man. I think like they're a fraudulent 5-2, to be honest with you, because you know they kind of lost their luster after they lost that Super Bowl to the Chiefs a couple of years ago. I mean, kind of saw it last year when they got blown out by the Niners, right? Not only was it a revenge game for the Niners, but you know the Eagles just looked lost in that game. So, and I don't really trust Jalen Hurts just yet in his career. He hasn't shown the ability to do like what he should be doing at a consistent basis. He's had only one good year in the NFL, and that was the year that they went to the Super Bowl. So I'm not really afraid of any of the quarterbacks either in the NFC other than maybe Jordan Love because he has that superstar potential. But if you look at all the other, you know, leaders in the NFC in terms of record, Caleb Williams, rookie, Jaden Daniels, rookie. Obviously you have Jared Goff. He's been to a Super Bowl, but we saw what he did in the second half in the NFC Championship game last year. And obviously, you know, with the Vikings, they have Sam Darnold. So these are not names that are going to really scare you. Like I said, like maybe Jalen Hurts is one of those guys that could potentially scare you because of his ability to run and to also pass and that tush push shit that they do in Philly. So, you know, that's always been really effective for them.
I think that's Saquon this year, which is a different element for them.
Different element for sure. But the guy that I would be the most afraid of in the NFC in terms of quarterbacks is Jordan Love for sure. And that's why I think, you know, that game, those two games that they're going to play against the Packers and the Bills, they're definitely going to have to split it for sure. But I think the loss is going to be the Packers game because of Jordan Love's ability to just, you know, throw dimes.
I think the Lions, but going back, I do think it's Super Bowl bust for the Niners because everyone needs to be signed next year. So you need to win with all the talent you have right now. The fact that he even mentioned the Cowboys is what the problem is. Every time, every year, it's our year. I'm pretty sure all the fans say it or the analysts say it, but it's like, what have they done to even be mentioned right now? All right, like playoffs, even maybe, right? Now going back to, I do think it's Lions because they have a running game. They have two good running backs. They have good receivers, good tight end, good offensive line, good defense, and a head coach who's not afraid. So it's like, who would really, unless they have a bad game, which again it might happen, someone's gonna knock them out, right? All it takes is one game, especially in the playoffs. So honestly, we'll see whoever's catching the hot hand. Jordan Love, I just don't think he has enough weapons on the offense side. Yeah, he has a running game, and good defense, and he's an injury. He just got hurt again. Didn't he pull out a hamstring?
He has a growing injury, but they don't. The thing is with the Packers, they don't have any elite weapons on that offense, but they do have a lot of guys that contribute every single week, right? They don't have a clear number one wide receiver, but 1 week it's Jaden Reed, then it's Christian Watson, then it's Romeo Doubs, right? They got Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft has been playing well, so Jordan Love really spreads that ball around his offense. So like, a lot of solid receivers, and he's obviously like the engine that makes the offense go.
For sure.
He's definitely gonna have to stay healthy, right? So this is his second injury. He's, I think, questionable for this upcoming week. So there's a good chance he does play or doesn't play. I guess we'll see. But there's definitely not a lot of elite quarterbacks in the NFC like there is obviously in the other side, where you have guys like Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, a lot of guys on that side, right, that are among the top in the NFL. Justin Herbert's starting to pick it up the last couple of weeks too. So, but the thing is with these teams in the NFC, the coaching is really there, right? Whether it's a guy like Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, you got Dan Campbell, right? So these are guys that are really good, and not only is it going to come down to like the quarterback battles, but it's also going to come down to the coaching battles, right? Can Kyle Shanahan outcoach these guys in key games? And he showed it last year up until the Super Bowl, but we'll see if he can do it again with these teams that are playing better this season. So to Harpreet's question, should the Niners or Cowboys target anyone? We talked about Cowboys already. For the Niners, it seems like they're good at they're not going to make any moves for like a wide receiver. Who knows if maybe they're still making calls. Deontay Johnson's name has been thrown out too, so who knows if they make a move for him. I think their biggest area of need is the D-line, because outside of Nick Bosa, nobody's getting pressure on the quarterback. Leonard Floyd hasn't been living up to his contract so far. So that's one area I'd definitely like to see them target is a D-line. Would you agree, Cooner?
Definitely. I think defensive tackle specifically is going to be a point of emphasis these next couple of weeks for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled the trigger on something at the end of this week, going into practice on Monday of next week. I do expect some sort of move to be made, whether it's big or small, for a D tackle. I mean, the team has a lot of cap space. We have a lot of draft capital as well that we can utilize to our disposal. So I'm hoping that it's someone like DeForest Buckner. That would be like a best case scenario. They should have never let him go for Eric Armstead. That was so stupid when they did that trade. To acquire a first round pick for DeForest Buckner. Defoe's, his presence as a leader was unmatched in that locker room, and it showed the year after when they didn't make the playoffs. Even though they were injured, they just didn't have that fire, that leader to like kind of weather the storm for them when things got bad. So, a guy like DeForest Buckner certainly would be welcome. Also, another guy that probably is not going to be available anymore because the Broncos are doing better, but DJ Jones, another former 49er that knows the scheme and was really effective for them for 3 years that he was here. So I do expect them to make a move for a D tackle. Wide receiver would be a luxury, I think, at this point, considering the fact that there's not many wide receivers left that could be potentially available for trade. I think Christian Kirk is also another name to look out for. Maybe they make a move for that.
He's out for the season.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Really? Oh,
he broke his collarbone. He broke his collarbone.
I did not know that. Yeah, he was fine yesterday. I thought he was questionable to come back, but damn, that's crazy. So, I mean, it's kind of thin right now. Deontay Johnson's pretty much the only guy. I mean, earlier in the season, I would have said Devontae Adams, but he made the wrong choice going to the Jets. So, Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of options for receiver, and we already know it. Kyle Shanahan, when it comes to receivers that don't know his system right off from day one, he's not gonna play you, right? Our rookies barely get any playing time. He's forced to play Cowing and Pearsall now because of the injuries, but if it was up to him, Ayuk and Debo would be on every single snap.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think we're fine at wide receiver. Obviously the Brandon Ayuk injury is definitely like tough, but between guys like Debo, Jawan Jennings, who should be back after the bye, Ricky Pearsall, we saw him get more involved in the offense yesterday. Yeah, Harpreet said maybe linebacker help. I think they're going to hold off because Dre Greenlaw is going to be back fairly soon.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's definitely D-line, I think, is going to be the biggest need. And because the Niners have that cap space, I think we'll see them make a move there. We're going to wrap up here soon. I do want to ask one more question to you guys because there was a little bit of controversy with both of our teams. Trevon Diggs popping off at a reporter after the game. And then Nick Bosa flashing his MAGA hat on Sunday Night Football. What do you guys think was the bigger deal? The Bosa, the MAGA hat, or Diggs kind of clapping back at the reporter? Sonny, I'll start with you.
It should be the both of them because Diggs already talked about on Michael's podcast that he just got heated and why he said what he said. But we're trying to keep politics away from the NFL. I know recently all these WWE superstars and everyone else are chiming in on all this stuff, which is cool and all that. But leave all that away. I remember one other guy from the Niners did the same thing, and he got kind of kicked out of this NFL. So is Bosa gonna get the same treatment? Is he gonna get a fine or whatnot? What is it gonna be? Plus, I'm glad he did that because now the attention is going to the Niners rather than the Cowboys, which is always a good thing because they always get all the attention in the world.
Hey, your owner Jerry Jones probably loved that move from Nick Bosa though.
He's probably like, I want to trade for that guy right now.
Right. But like I said, keeping politics, keep it NFL, man. Keep it sports. Keep it that way. I think that gives a game more fun. Now it's going to be all about this topic the whole week, not the Niners winning. So
I don't think you're not going to see teams or any major media networks are not going to talk about what Bosa did. You won't. Like ESPN's under the Disney umbrella. There's no way they're going to talk about that. Fox too. I don't think any of these guys are going to get into it because they don't want to bring politics onto their show, right? So
exactly.
And at the end of the day, right, it's kind of like freedom of speech at the end of the day, right? Even though he's using his platform to promote whatever he believes in, right? Like Colin Kaepernick did the same thing on the other side of things, right? When he was in the NFL by taking a knee, and he was using his platform, for a cause that he thought was necessary at that time and what he believed in. So, I'm not going to nitpick from a political perspective what I think he should or shouldn't have done. He just decided to do what he felt was right for himself in that moment. And we can say that about many players in the NFL that have done, certain things about, social injustice and social reform and all that kind of stuff. So he'll get fined at most. That's probably what's going to happen.
I don't even think
the NFL can do that because, like I said, he's using his platform and he's using his right to freedom of speech as not just an NFL player, but as a person, right? So, if you're gonna get heated because of what he did, right, then that's part of the problem. You need to be able to understand where both sides come from when it comes to something like this. So, I'm not gonna give him too much shit for it, obviously, but it's a lot of people were calling it a dick move at the end of the game and all that kind of stuff, but it is what it is. I keep.
He didn't do anything wrong, right?
No, he didn't. He's not saying I'm gonna vote for Donald Trump or anything like that, or you should vote for Donald Trump. He just put a hat on. He said, "Make America great again," and that's it. And when they asked about it in the post game, he didn't say shit. He's like, "I'm gonna keep that to myself," but he says it's an important time right now, and he left it at that. So he didn't get into it.
Yeah,
he didn't get into it. I'm not gonna get into it with him about what it was, or
if anything,
nor should anybody else.
He'll get fined because he can't wear a hat like that.
I don't think he's gonna get. If anything, bro, Diggs might be the one that gets fined here for saying what he did to the reporter. I mean,
he said these nuts, bro.
Saying these nuts to the reporter, it's not exactly professional, right? At the end of the day, Bosa didn't yes, he pointed at his hat, but he didn't come onto the TV and say, "Hey, vote for Donald Trump," right, or something like that. Even then, I don't think it's gonna warrant a fine. I don't know what the NFL's rules are when it comes to that kind of thing, but
I don't think you could wear a outside hat. That's not your team. You can't wear your college hat. I
don't know. Guys wear things all the time, bro. So who knows? I don't know what the NFL's policy is on it.
I think none of them are a big issue, but people make things into a
I
big
mean,
issue.
both these topics were trending. Like we saw Trevon Diggs' name was
Oh, yeah.
trending on
Yeah, I mean,
Twitter.
agree.
Nick Bosa was trending on Twitter.
Cowboys, like I said, Niners. I mean, that's obvious, right? But like Amin said, I don't think it's freedom of speech, right? I totally agree with that. I'm just saying he will probably get fined because you can't wear a hat of some sort that's not like allowed. That's all. I don't think it's
Possible he does. Who knows?
This guy said, I don't think Dano said, I don't think either team is going to make the playoffs. Both teams need to retool.
I think Bears need to fix their defense of people who start talking to the audience while the game's still going on and then end up not guarding the guy who they're supposed to guard, who was a former Cowboys, by the way, and then catching a touchdown. So a lot of people.
Man, that was definitely the L of the week if you want to be real.
Yeah, stupid.
Taunting and then also being involved in deflecting the ball that ended up leading to the game-winning touchdown. That one definitely sucks. This is a comment we definitely have to highlight right here. Sorry, Sonny. From our boy.
First of all, whoever that guy is in that picture of his, looking so much AI professional right there. But like I said, Cowboys suck. We lost. Hey, props to you guys. A win is a win. End of the day. Long season ahead. Let's see who gets to the playoffs. But all I'm gonna say is light the beam.
I know you ain't saying that after the Lakers beat
it was a good game.
Day, all right?
It was a good.
Light the beam, bro.
But that's for another topic. Can't give the fans too much, right? Right now.
Yeah, we'll do some NBA talk another time. But thank you guys all for tuning in to another episode of the Deep Dive. Thank you, Sonny, for joining us this week and being a good sport. After your Cowboys took the L on Sunday Night Football. The Niners now 4-4 as they go into their bye week. We'll see if they get Christian McCaffrey back after the break and whether guys come back for this team too. And we'll definitely do an episode next week to look ahead to the second half of the Niners season.
Yep.
But again, thank you guys all for tuning in. Subscribe to the Deep Dive on YouTube. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and we will catch you guys next week.
See you guys. Thank you.
See you.